In a wide American valley surrounded by tall pines and silver rivers, there stood a small town called Alder Ridge. From a distance, it looked peaceful. White fences, red barns, front porches with rocking chairs. But if you stayed long enough, you would notice something strange. The town was divided, not by walls, not by laws, but by invisible lines. On the east side of the river lived the farmers, generations of families who believed in tradition, hard work, and keeping things the way they'd always been. On the west side lived the builders and shop owners. They believed in progress, change, and new ideas. They shared the same sky, but they did not share trust. Children went to different schools. Families shopped at different stores. Even church bells rang at different times, and between them flowed the river, wide, cold, silent. Every autumn, storms rolled through Alder Ridge. But this year was different. The weather reports were louder, the winds stronger, the warnings sharper. Meteorologists called it a once-in-a-generation system. Heavy rainfall, flash flooding, winds strong enough to uproot trees. Town meetings were called. The east side blamed poor drainage on the west. The west blamed outdated infrastructure on the east. Arguments filled the community hall. "We don't need their help. They never listen. They think they know better." The river kept flowing, waiting. On the edge of town lived a 12-year-old boy named Caleb. Caleb didn't care about sides. His best friend, Mateo, lived across the river. They fished together, rode bikes together, shared secrets about the future. But to see each other, they had to take the long road, nearly 5 miles around, because the old wooden bridge connecting the two sides had collapsed years ago during a storm. Everyone had talked about rebuilding it. No one ever did. "It's not our responsibility," one side said. "They should pay for it," said the other. So the bridge remained broken, and the river remained a divider. The storm arrived on a Thursday night. It began gently, a drizzle, a whisper of wind. By midnight, the sky roared. Rain slammed against rooftops. Trees bent low like they were bowing in fear. The river swelled, rising inch by inch. Caleb stood at his bedroom window, watching the lightning crack across the sky. On the other side of the river, he could see faint house lights flickering. He wondered if Mateo was scared. He wondered if they were safe. By morning, Alder Ridge was underwater. The river had broken its banks. Farms flooded, basements filled, power lines snapped like twigs. The east side lost electricity first. The west side lost clean water. Emergency sirens wailed, and for the first time, both sides realized something terrifying. The storm did not care which side they lived on. Water doesn't choose politics. Wind doesn't choose opinions. Disaster doesn't recognize division. It destroys everything equally. Rescue crews were overwhelmed. Bridges on the highway collapsed. Roads were blocked by fallen trees. The only safe high ground was an old grain silo field, located directly between the two sides of town. But there was a problem. Without the old wooden bridge, many families couldn't cross safely. The river was too violent, the current too strong. Caleb watched from his porch as people stood helplessly on both banks, shouting, waving, afraid. And then he saw Mateo on the opposite side, stranded. Something shifted in Caleb. He ran inside and grabbed a coil of rope from his father's shed. He tied one end to a thick oak tree near the riverbank. Then he waded into the freezing water. His father yelled. Neighbors gasped, but Caleb kept going, step by shaking step. The current fought him. Rain blinded him. The rope pulled tight behind him. When he reached the middle, he nearly slipped. But hands from both sides reached out. A farmer from the east grabbed his arm. A shop owner from the west grabbed the rope. Together, they pulled him forward. And just like that, the first human bridge was formed. Adults followed Caleb's lead. They anchored ropes. They formed chains. They locked arms. Strangers stood shoulder to shoulder. Boots next to sneakers. Work gloves next to business watches. No one asked, "Which side are you from?" They only asked, "Are you okay?" Children were passed across first, then elderly, then families carrying what little they could save. For hours they held the line against the river, and something powerful happened. The fear began to fade, because unity is stronger than panic. By dawn, the storm moved on. The sky softened. The rain stopped. Alder Ridge stood soaked, damaged, but standing. Families gathered in the grain field, together. No sides, no labels, no arguments, just people. Exhausted, grateful, alive. Caleb and Mateo sat on overturned buckets, wrapped in blankets. They didn't say much. They didn't need to. Weeks later, the rebuilding began. But this time, something was different. When the town council met, there were no divided rows of chairs. East and West sat side by side. And the first project they voted on? The bridge. Not because it was convenient, not because it was symbolic, but because they finally understood something simple. Distance creates misunderstanding. Connection builds strength. Farmers brought timber, builders brought tools, shop owners raised funds, teenagers volunteered weekends, grandparents brought meals. Day by day, board by board, the bridge rose, stronger than before, wider than before, built not by one side, but by everyone. The new bridge wasn't just wood and steel, it was a reminder. Storms will always come. Political storms, economic storms, personal storms. But division makes every storm stronger, and unity makes every storm survivable. Alder Ridge didn't become perfect overnight. They still disagreed, still debated, still had different beliefs, but they stopped seeing each other as enemies. They started seeing each other as neighbors. Years later, children would run across the bridge without knowing there was ever a time it didn't exist. They would fish together, laugh together, grow together. And when thunder rolled across the valley, no one panicked, because they knew something their grandparents had learned the hard way. We don't survive storms by standing alone. We survive by holding on to each other, under the same sky, on the same ground, with the same hope. The river still flows through Alder Ridge, but it no longer divides. It connects.